Just take a look around you right now. I bet you're wearing something woven, maybe sitting on something woven. Fabric is literally everywhere, so common that we just don't even see it. But it holds a secret. It's this ancient hidden code, and today we're gonna crack it.
I mean, really think about it. That t-shirt, your jeans, the couch you're sitting on, what is the invisible logic that stops all of that from just being a big old pile of threads?
Well, it's not magic, I promise. It's actually this beautifully simple system, a kind of code that's been perfected over thousands of years. And the cool part is, once you learn to see it, you will start seeing it absolutely everywhere. So, how do we crack this code? Where do we even start? It all comes down to two key players. Seriously, the entire world of fabric is built on the relationship between something called the warp and the weft.
At its most basic, this is all weaving is. You're just crossing two sets of threads over and under each other. But that little detail, that they do it at right angles, that's the foundation for everything. I mean everything, from a simple placemat to the most complicated tapestry you can imagine. So here's how they work together. The warp threads, think of them as the strong, silent type. They run up and down vertically, and they're held super tight on a loom. They're the backbone of the fabric. Then you have the weft. The weft is the traveler, the active thread. It's the one that moves side to side, horizontally, weaving over and under the warp to lock it all into place.
And hey, if you're trying to keep those two straight in your head, here's a really simple trick. Just remember that the weft goes left and right, of course. It's that horizontal thread that travels back and forth. It's a silly little mnemonic, but you know what? It works. Okay, so we've got the what, warp, and weft. Pretty simple, right? Now let's get into the how. How do you actually go from a bunch of string to a piece of cloth? Turns out it's a pretty logical 6-step process. First, you gotta stretch those warp threads onto the loom. That's your foundation. Then you get your weft thread ready, usually on something called a shuttle. Step 3 is where the action happens. The weft starts weaving over and under. Now, step 4 is so important. You have to beat or press each row down to make sure the fabric is tight and even. After that, you can start adding colors and patterns. And finally, you just secure the ends. See? It's methodical and it is incredibly effective. All right, this is where that simple code starts to get really creative. Just by changing that simple over and under sequence, you can create completely different fabrics. You can think of these as the 3 basic recipes that make up almost everything you own and wear. So you've got the plain weave. It's the simplest. Over 1, under 1. Classic. But look what happens when you just tweak the code a little. A twill weave goes over 2 and under 1. And for a satin weave, the weft thread floats over 4 or more warp threads before going under. A tiny, tiny change in the rule creates this massive change in how the fabric looks and feels. The plain weave is the real workhorse. It's the strongest, most stable of the bunch. This is that classic grid-like pattern you'll find in really tough, everyday materials, like canvas or simple cotton. It's just built to last. Now, the twill weave creates that really distinct diagonal line, and I can pretty much guarantee you're familiar with this one. Go on, look down at your jeans right now. See those subtle diagonal ribs running through the fabric? Yep, that's a twill. That pattern gives the fabric more flexibility and a better drape. And then you have satin. By having that weft thread float over a bunch of warp threads at once, you get fewer interruptions on the surface. That is what creates that incredible smoothness and that beautiful shine we all associate with luxury fabrics like silk. The only downside? All those long floats can snap a little more easily. But weaving is so much more than just a way to make clothes. It's one of our oldest art forms. It's a way to tell stories, to preserve history, and to express a culture's identity. Across Africa, for instance, weaving is this incredibly profound cultural practice. The patterns you see aren't just for decoration. They're a language. They carry deep symbolic meaning. And these skills are a kind of living history, passed from one generation to the next, literally weaving the past right into the present. I mean, just look at the famous kente cloth from Ghana. Every single one of those vibrant colors, each intricate little pattern, it has a name and a meaning. They tell stories about history, about proverbs, about a person's social status. It's history itself, woven into fabric. And it's not just cloth either. The same is true for these beautiful Tonga baskets from Zambia. They aren't just functional items, not at all. Their distinctive patterns are a signature of the Tonga people, a tradition that really embodies their entire cultural identity. So, after this little trip through the world of weaving, what's the big idea? What's the one thing you should really take away from all this? It's this. Some of the most mind blowing complexity, the most incredible artistry, and the deepest cultural meaning can all come from the simplest possible action: a vertical thread and a horizontal thread crossing over and under. That's it. That's the code that builds our world. So, the next time you pull on a pair of jeans or you see a beautiful tapestry, I want you to take a closer look, because now you know the code. You can see the warp and the weft, you can spot the weave, and you can ask yourself, what story is this fabric trying to tell me?